Hello, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. My name is Christabel, the original Power Ranger princess. But on this channel, I'm Princess Power Ranger. You guys, I literally, I just came out of the pool, and I love swimming, but what I hate about swimming every time I jump into the water, whether it's on the beach, in a pool, it doesn't matter. Like, my ears get filled with like water, so if you see me like smacking my head, no, I am not calling the ancestors. It's not some weird African ritual. I'm just trying to get this doggone water out of my ears. And excuse my luggage. I was like looking for something to wear because I always feel like I have nothing to wear. I feel like Cher and Clueless sometimes, like with her room like just messy with clothes. So excuse my, actually I think I like my clean, no makeup face. But I'm just gonna like try and get ready and do my simple girl beats while I tell y'all a story. Now, 2 days ago, I started talking about situations that I'd been in where guys didn't know that I was transgender, that I had a friend named Penelope. And I'm going to continue telling these stories because I think there's so much that we can learn, and I don't ever want y'all to ever make the same mistakes that I made. I really do not want y'all to make the same mistakes that I made. But the funny thing is, sometimes like I wonder, do these guys actually not know? Do these guys actually not know? Because when I think about this story, where the hell is my makeup? Hey, hold on. Eyeling is, for God's sakes. I always wonder, do these guys actually not know, or are they just living in some sort of cognitive dissonance where they can definitely see that this person was genetically born male or has the same, stuff that they have. And the reason I ask this is the time period that this happened is when I was, not doing my best. I was all sickly and I was super, super thin. And little known fact about transitioning or trans women who are on hormones, the more weight you gain, the more you pass. Yes, you look like somebody's fat old ass beluga whale, linebacker, double decker auntie from the cookout who's eating everybody's burger, but you still do look female, you know what I mean? And the thinner you are, because you have to remember that essentially what the hormones do is they don't change your bone structure. Your bone structure is still your bone structure. What the hormones do is that it's fat redistribution. And if you are as thin as, Ally McBeal, Mary-Kate Olsen, or a skeleton, baby, people are going to tell that, you are one of the dolls, one of the girls. So at this time, like, girl, I looked bad. I looked ratatocious. I looked like a dang on mess. And, like, I'm someone who loves doing, like, messy girl hotness. In that, like, I like looking a little bit disheveled. But I like looking disheveled when it actually does look good. Back then, when I wasn't doing too well, oh, baby, I looked all types of masculine. I looked all types of Miss Man. So I often wonder, when guys say they didn't know, is it that they didn't know or it's just cognitive dissonance? Anyways, I digress. So we're going to go back in time to a time when I was very, very broken, very, very lost. Living back home in South Africa. Yes, I am South African. Don't let the accent fool you. I am from where Simba is from, and where Mufasa and Rafiki and all them people are from. Back when I was in King Williamstown, I wasn't really working, and I was living at home with my family. I was living with my mom, and I grew up in the kind of family where there was money, but none of that money came this side. I was the scapegoated, dark-skinned trans child. So even though I had come home and I had, been essayed, and I was like, basically walking on one leg, crying my way home. My mama was like, "Listen here, you old ass bitch. You're gonna pay rent, and that's just the tea." You know damn well that in some of our families, we are the ones they never wanted. Now, I'm not going to speak bad about my family, but it was very much giving that your old ass needs to pay. And I was all traumatized. I wasn't really working. I wasn't working. And I would spend a lot of my time outside of the house. Like, I had to get out of my mom's house. It didn't matter how big it was. It didn't matter how many rooms they were that I could go hide in. There is no place that you are safe from a narcissist. No place. So I was just in a bad place in my life. Really, really bad place in my life. So what I would usually do is I would go downtown where all of the, shady, broken people used to hang out. And I would just, smoke a doobie and really just try to forget my problems. So, I'm going to paint a picture. I think did I have an argument with someone? Maybe I did, maybe I had an argument in my head, who knows. Either way, I decide I'm going out to go get some weed, right? That time I don't have like a penny or a dime to my name, but I'm charismatic and people like me and people tend to favor me. I don't know why. So I leave the house, I go down to see my friends, or people I thought were my friends, to find out if I could essentially crash at their place, because I just did not want to be in my mother's house. I didn't want to be in her space. I didn't want any type of argument. I think I was still stressed about having to pay rent when I had no money. So I go to my friend's place and I basically tell them the situation that, look, shit's kind of hitting the fan. Is it okay if I just crash here? I can even just sleep on the couch. My friends, who were a different race from me, were like, "Oh, hell no! Get your darky ass up out of here. Go find your people." So I essentially was, the best way that I can describe it is, I was just walking around, wandering the streets of King Williamstown, looking for trouble. Now, trouble did find me. Trouble found me. I left my friend's place, and as I was walking out of, her home and whatever, there were these guys who were right behind me. I think there were two guys behind me. They noticed me and, they holla. In South Africa, African men are generally very in your face. They're very aggressive when they hit on women. So I was used to guys acting this way. I just kept it polite and I was like, "Hey, what's up?" me and the one guy, we start talking. I think he said something like, "What are you doing walking around the streets at like this hour?" And it wasn't even that late. It was only like what, 8 o'clock? And in South Africa, anyone who knows South Africa knows you do not walk around late at night. You don't walk around late at night. I mean, I remember this one time I was walking around, like the neighborhood. Well, not really the neighborhood. I was just out in town and I bumped into these guys that wanted to essentially rob me and mug me and whatever. And a bitch was scared until I realized that, oh shit, I know one of the robbers. Like, we grew up together. And he was upset that he saw me. He was all like, bitch, we're out here trying to work and trying to find victims. Like, we almost robbed your ass. So, so I used to walk around a lot. It got to a point that I actually started making friends with a lot of the guys that would mug people. Like, I grew up with a lot of those guys. A lot of them knew my cousins or had met me in school or whatever. And also, I think, to be honest, during that time in my life, I was quietly trying to unalive myself. I was hoping that somebody would, like, do something. You know what I mean? Because I just did not want to be around. So, it's about 7, going back to the story, sorry, I digress. It's about 7, 8-ish, and these guys, they're like, yo, girl, what are you doing out here, like, at this hour? It's not safe. Are you looking for, like, some weed or something? And at that time, like, I just turned to the guy and I'm like, yeah, you got some? Girl, tell me why this man lies to me. Like, the thing is, when a guy is trying to hook up with you, he will tell you that he has anything that you need, as long as you go to his place. So, he tells me that, yes, he does have some, like, marijuana at his place. Do I want to come over and we can, like, smoke and, like, relax and whatever. So I'm like, oh, yes. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Now, let it be known, I was not looking to meet a guy. I was looking simply to get some weed. Whether or not he was attractive or not didn't even register in my mind. Like, I don't even like guys half of the time with my mean-spirited ass. So I agreed to, like, go to his place so we can, like, get high together. Now, it's me and the two guys walking. As we are walking, I noticed the other guy. He basically started distancing himself from us. And it got to a point where he ended up going to his place and just dumped his friend and, like, left without saying. I found this weird, but I was like, whatever. Like, let's go roll up the joint. Like, he's not my friend. Like, the only reason, like, we're chit-chatting is so I could get the weed. Girl. We got to the guy's place. Now, he lived in an outside room of his parents' like, house. He had his own, like, little outside room. You know how, like, in most South African homes, they have, like, servants' quarters. I think they had basically turned the servants' quarters into their eldest son's, like, room. Yeah. I didn't care. I was like, where's the doobie, my guy? Girl. So, we get into his place, right? And we're all sat there, like, me and him. His friend, who was walking with us, calls him. Now, this guy had worked for the South African military. A lot of guys who had worked in the South African military had been in armed forces and had gone to, like, other African countries and picked up pew-pews and fought and did all of that. So he was a well pew-pewed man. He had a pew-pew in his room, which was actually the servants' quarters. And he also had what we call in my country a shambok, which is basically like it's not a switch, it's like a switch made out of leather, but a super, super long one, almost half up to my body. And when somebody hits you with it, it breaks the skin open. It's kind of like what slave masters used to use with their slaves. Anyways, so I'm like sat there, I'm waiting for this guy to like start rolling up. Like, I'm like, my guy, quickly. Tell me why. His friend calls him. As they're talking, I could hear what this guy was saying. I couldn't hear what the guy over the phone was saying. But all I remember is him saying, "What?" Turning around and looking at me and glaring at me. His friend is still going off. At this point, he switched off from the conversation. He puts the phone down. He puts the cell phone down. And I'm like, oh shit. I guess this is how I meet the Lord. And I didn't even get high. Like, Betung. Girl, he's like, you're a man. And I think at that point, like you know when the jokes have ended. At that point, I'm sort of sat there, and I'm trying to figure out the distance between where I'm sitting and the door. And I'm trying to remember, like, did he lock the gate when we came in? Because in my mind, I'm trying to figure out how fast I can get out of this situation. I assess it, and I'm like, girl, you ain't going nowhere. You are stuck in this mess that you have created for yourself that nobody put you in. Nobody. Girl, I'm just like, I thought you knew. Like, I thought you could see. Like, how could you not tell? I have this thing when guys would ever say, like, oh shit, are you like a man or whatever? I would simply use reverse transphobia back on me and be like, how could you not tell, given my hands, given my bone structure, given my the deepness of, or the bass of my voice, like what it do? He wasn't having it. And I think at that point, like, yes, I did want to be unalived. I certainly wanted to no longer participate in life. And I was just like, look, all this man is gonna do is what I have been trying to do since I was 5 years old. Like, let's be so for real. Y'all can see that. Oh, girl, why am I so wet? This hair got a bit too. All he was going to do is simply do what I had been wanting to do for so many years. So, and I've been in situations where, I've said this before, stare down the barrel of a loaded gun, been beat up and thrown over, like, the second story. Like a lot of things have happened to me. This is why I just laugh at this stuff now. Because it's like, what am I supposed to do? Cry? So I basically tell him, I thought you knew. And he starts off being mad. And he was like, do you know I could take my pew and just pew you out of here. I could take my shambok and beat the pretty out your face. It only takes 3 or 4 hits and you'll be so slashed open up in here that it won't only be these cuts, baby, it'll be cuts on your face worse than a turkey on Thanksgiving. And for me, honestly, I could not have, I didn't want to be around, y'all. I just did not want to be around. So I basically was like, look, I'm sorry that, I misled you if you feel like I misled you. I came here only for, like, the weed. Like, I'm not sure why it's come to this point where you are upset. I didn't understand that my gender expression had anything to do with us smoking weed. And he hit me with, bitch, brah, my nigga, my girl, like whatever you are. I would never have invited you over here if I thought you were like a dude or whatever, and you know this. And yeah, he clocked that T 100%. He would not have, like, I understand that the reason he asked me over was because he was trying to lure me over because he thought he was gonna, like, make out with me. So I just sat there and I was like, I'm sorry. Like, I really am sorry. I can leave if you want me to. Bitch, gag. Tell me why he's like, no, I'm still gonna nut, but you should have told me. And this is where it sort of like took a whole nother change. Now, usually in situations where I had been with guys who didn't know I was trans, it's mostly been with palm colored men, Caucasian men. Let's just be honest. A lot of white guys can't even differentiate between black people, so they're the least likely to clock you. But a man from your community, a black, colored, or even a Hispanic man, oh, he knows. He's been you. So he was like, no, like, I'm still gonna nut. And I thought that it would go like how it had gone in the past, like with other, like, guys, where I would just, fellatio my way out of there. Girl, he wasn't having none of that. He he wanted, like, the full Monty, and I'm just kind of like, well, baby, I don't bottom. Like, I hope you know this. This man, like, literally, God, it's so annoying. Like, it really, like, I hated that situation because he basically was like, yeah, you're gonna, like, sleep over. You're not leaving until the morning, and this is how it's gonna work. Now, I am so disassociated and I'm so broken from life that, like, you get to a point as a human being where so many things have happened to you that pain no longer hurts you. Simply just waking up and understanding and knowing that you're alive is what hurts you the most. So all of the beats, all of the cuts, all of the ridicule gets to a point where it's boring. Like, the only thing that hurts is the anxiety that shoots up in your body, not anything that these dudes do to you, because it's like, what can they possibly do that hasn't been done to me already? Girl, tell me why we got all up in the bed, and thank God, he was smart enough to know how to use condoms and stuff. And that's when I, like, started, like, having questions about, like, he seems to be very comfortable and very familiar, very, very familiar with topping people in the booty. Now, I had a suspicion that he had been with trans girls or at least gay men before. So my little entitled self, asked, have you ever done anything like this? It might not be something you're comfortable with. And he was like, yeah, like, I've, like, but people don't lie to me. And this is what, like, annoyed me. I was kind of like, if you have been with someone who is either gender nonconforming, gay, and or trans, why are you making it into a thing? And it's the power play. And I've explained this to people, that the guys who sleep with us really, really, really hate us, and it's a power dynamic. We get naked, and he gagged when he realized like I actually had real breasts and all of that. And it got so weird. He went from being crazy angry to the point where I thought he was going to take my life out, to then when he was aroused, to like exploring my body. And he even said, you know, like, when did you know like you wanted to change yourself? And like I basically told him, like, yeah, since I was like 5 years old, that was the first time I wanted to unalive myself, because I realized I was actually a boy and not a girl. And he flips me over. Girl, when I say bottoming is like the girls who bottom, like, how do y'all do it though? No, like, honestly, how? 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 The pain was so severe. So severe. He was like holding me down by my neck. It was, oh my God, it was hell on earth. It was hell on earth, so much so, like, I come from a family that does African traditional medicine, i.e. witchcraft and stuff, and I know how to summon, and I know how to hex, and I know how to do all that stuff. It was so severe, I had to, you know, cry out all of my clan names and essentially do something. Now, if you're a spiritualist, you get my drift. I had to call in. I had to call in help. I had to call in help. But the thing is, I understood that there was very little that could be done to help me. But he eventually finishes, and I'm like, thank God and my ancestors that this is not over. So we're lying in bed, and I felt horrible. I really, really felt horrible. I was just kind of like, is this really my life? Is this really my life? Like, I speak 5 languages. I have like 2 degrees. I'm well traveled. Like, is this really, really my life? I'm supposed to be like Whitley Gilbert from, you know, A Different World, or Hilary Banks from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I am not supposed to be Precious. And I felt like Precious in that moment. I felt like Precious with her daddy on top of her, and that like pig chicken like cooking in the background, engulfed in a world that I never ever wanted to be in. And it was over, and I remember like the lights were turned off, and now, you know, I'm a Cancer sun, and I like to turn those tears on. So I'm like like doing all of that, being all dramatic, but not too loud, because I didn't want this dude to hear me. Tell me why. Tell me why. And I should have known this, because I'm a top. I'm like a black African closet top, and I know how we do. He was ready for round 2. Rage went all up in me. And I was like, over my and my ancestor's body will that happen. We got into, not a scuffle, but we got into a verbal altercation, where I was like, what are you talking about that it's going to happen again? And I must have said something a little mean to him, because he was all like, yeah, you don't have to be aggressive, and you don't have to be mean to me. And I'm like, not you threatening to pew me, and then like essentially coercing me, forcing me into this like sexual situation, which I take full accountability for. I should not have been a little fast little thing out in the streets. I should have been in my mama's house paying rent. I should have been in my mama's house, like, taking care of business. and not like out on the streets. But like we got into it and he eventually left it alone. Hell, I wasn't even gonna fellatio yo because I was just kind of like, no, 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 no. Like, the thing is, I kind of had experience, like essaying and things like that. And I blocked out a lot of those things, but I learned how to fight and I learned how to defend myself, and it was not going to happen. Listen, if you tried it again, baby, do you know families that do witchcraft? Anyways, I digress. Nothing ends up happening the second round. Like, a second round just did not happen. I shut that shit down. At around 4:30, the sun was starting to come out. 4:35, sun's starting to come out. It's looking a little, it's not super pitch black. It's kind of like that, like, almost like bluish navy color. The sun's ready to start doing its thing. I leap out them blankets and get dressed, and I'm like, it's time for me to go. Is the gate opened? Like, what's going on? Now, like, I marvel at my level of arrogance. Because, like, in South Africa, like, the way these men take us out wholesale, not even retail, girl, wholesale. Um, he was kind of Swedish in the end. I think, like, the thing is, I talk good. I talk good, right? um, and I think he thought that him and I were going to hang out because he started talking about, oh, we're gonna, like, on weekends we're gonna go to East London, which is a town close to King Williamstown, where nobody knows us, and we're just gonna hang out for a whole weekend. We'll get like a B&B. And I'm looking at him like, East London. My pride. I was like, wow, I've really sunk low in life. Um, yeah, but anyways, I ended up leaving, and as soon as I was out that gate, I sprinted until I couldn't anymore, and I just cried. I just cried because it was just kind of like, I was just annoyed. I was annoyed at myself. I was annoyed at my life. I was annoyed at the situation that I was in. I was annoyed that the world keeps viewing me only as a sexual object. I was annoyed that I put myself in schmexual situations. I was just annoyed and hurt. And as I'm walking now, during this time, at about 4:30, 5:30 in the morning in King Williamstown, that's when all the working girls be out, like, leaving their posts, going to where they need to go. And some random dude was trying to, like, give me a ride, and I know what give you a ride means. And I just remember, like, him honking, and I turned, and I must have sounded like an entity screaming at that car, because the way it went off. And I think from that moment, like, I know I often joke about how much I hate men, and there's a part of me that actually really, really does. There is a part of me that really, really does. I'm sorry for any men that are listening. Bless, voila, you are beautiful. Bless, bless, bless. But, in that moment, I hated men. I hated what I'd become. I hated where I was. I just hated. When you trick men, you trick yourself into believing that you will be accepted. You won't, bitch. You won't. Acceptance comes from within. Once you are able to give yourself that thing which you wish you could get from other people, which in my case it was weed, but what but once you're able to actually see that your value does not lie in a man, once you're able to have some semblance of your own power and not, like externally put it out there for these men to take and use and abuse, that is when you find true happiness. That's when you find true peace. Like, people ask me all the time, why do you like curb guys all the time? I curb them because I'm traumatized. I curb them because I'm scared. I curb them because, like, every time, like, it's so weird. Sometimes I'll be, like, talking to a guy or a guy's trying to talk to me and I want to sucker punch him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I literally... I won't say that now. Woo! I got close. But, I probably should have started this video off with a trigger warning. So, I don't edit my videos and I'm about to end this. So, trigger warning. I love you guys. I hope y'all are having a wonderful, wonderful, whatever time of the day it is. I am going to go get something to drink, and then I'm going to watch some Karamo. And then I'm going to watch Stranger Things. What are y'all going to do? Bye!